Does weed help drumming? Let's find out right now in this video. My name is Jason. I've been playing drums my whole life. I'm 55 years old. I started when I was about 8, so I've been doing it for a very long time. When I reached about 17 years old, I discovered marijuana. Actually, I knew about it beforehand, believe it or not. It was actually around the home and stuff. Didn't really want to do it. When I was 17, I really became fascinated with pot, and I started smoking some pot, a lot of pot, on a regular basis, and continued to play music. I've been playing drums since I was a kid. I've been playing in bands since I was 12. But never really thought about the effect of pot and music and what it does. I knew I enjoyed it and I knew it was something, but I wasn't full-on professional yet, and I was curious on what that would be like. So now I went to Berklee College of Music from there. And I remember being in one of my classes, and I used to get very high. It was an improv class, and I left the class to go to the bathroom, and the teacher made a joke, and he said, "Do you think Jason could smoke any more pot before he comes to class?" So it was known that I smoked a lot of pot. It's true. And I played drums high and not high, and I decided to test it out. So I started recording myself on gigs when I was high and when I wasn't high. And what I had noticed was that there wasn't really much of a difference. I had good days when I was high, and I had good days when I was not high. It was all about the mindset, really, that I was in, right? It was really about me showing up as the best drummer I could be and keeping that in mind no matter what was going on. You might be playing a gig with no monitors, or you can't hear the band. You still got to play as well as you possibly can. Now, I didn't think weed was necessarily a deficit, but I was curious to see if it was. So I began to test it, and I didn't really notice much of a difference, which got me very confused because I was somewhat, at least psychologically, addicted to pot, and I was smoking all the time. So I finally got the courage to ask one of my mentors, Joe Hunt, one of my teachers, and I said to him, I sat down in his office at Berklee, and I said, "Joe, what do you think about marijuana and music and like playing drums and smoking pot?" And I was expecting a little bit of a lecture from him. Me being, like 19, 20 years old, whatever. I expected a little bit of a lecture. And what he actually said was very poignant. He said, "The problem with smoking pot is that it's really hard to get it on the road." And I didn't really understand fully what he meant. But what he truly meant was that if you're dependent on something, a drug or an alcohol, and then you don't have it, you're fucked. So the idea is to never be dependent on pot, alcohol, even a good sound mix. I remember seeing Terry Lynn Carrington came to Berklee to play, and she played in front of all these drummers, and she kind of bombed. And she blamed it on the monitor mix. She blamed it. There wasn't enough kick drum in her monitor. And most of us rolled our eyes. We knew that she was making an excuse. So there's no excuse. You show up as best as you possibly can. Another story, I was doing a gig. I had a lot of jazz gigs, played with a lot of great people, no name dropping here. And I was doing a gig, and it was my band. I was bringing in musicians, and I hired this bass player. And on the break, I went out to smoke a joint. And the bass player chose to go out and smoke a joint with me. Now, I didn't know that this guy did not know how to manage his habit or didn't know how to make good choices for his music. And after we got back, the second set, he was completely all over the place. He forgot the changes, he was making mistakes. And afterwards he said to me, "Oh, I really wish I didn't smoke pot." And I'm like, "You know what, dude? You shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have even smoked. If you knew that it was gonna mess you up, why would you do it?" Because I did it? No, I know how to manage my habit. I know what I'm smoking and how much I'm smoking, and I know when I'm smoking. And that's a lot of managing, folks. So if you're gonna smoke, learn to manage your habit. Nowadays with medical marijuana and recreational, you can always have it, but still travel's a problem. So I had a gig in Kuwait recently. Kuwait, there's no drugs, no alcohol, period. None. So that's it, it ain't happening. But guess what? It didn't bother me at all. It didn't bother me at all because I'm not dependent on pot for my music to be as best as possible. And I'll leave it like that. I love you folks. Hope you got some value from this. Leave your questions below. Leave your comments. Consider subscribing and have an amazing day.